In November of 2017, Zimbabwe witnessed a military takeover. The military announced the takeover via state media and immediately took over the key functions of government and deployed tankers and soldiers onto the streets. This was followed by a solidarity march by ordinary Zimbabweans who thronged the streets on the 18th of November to support the military in the demand for Mugabe to step down. A week later, Robert Mugabe resigned, ending his 37-year rule and paving way for a new president, Emmerson Mnangagwa. While Zimbabwe celebrated the exit of Mugabe, constitutional order was lost and the military takeover, which wore a male face and sent tankers to the streets and subsequently deployed service chiefs to ZANU P.F party and to key government positions, has facilitated the remasculinization of leadership, further relegating young women to the periphery of political and public leadership. While the takeover was widely publicized, the critical voice and narrative of women is absent. Key questions are still to be answered. What were the young women's experience of the military takeover? What are the prospects on improvement or lack thereof of young women's status in public life after the takeover? Are there any opportunities that must be seized immediately to improve voice and freedom for young women? Zimbabwe will go to a general election in 2018. Women's participation will make a difference. The starting point is for women to increase their voice and agency in critical issues of national importance. Storytelling is a powerful tool to reflect, add to, and shape the national discourse.
The November 2017 takeover that saw the exit of Robert Mugabe from the presidential office is a historic moment in the timeline of our country, Zimbabwe. And I think that the takeover had very deep undertones of patriarchy, as you can tell from the stories that the young women are relating. And may I say at this point that Tsimbakadzi, the documentary that we are talking about or we are watching right now, is one of those unique documentaries where young women have shared their experiences of this very historic and monumental time of our life. And I think for me, as I've said, it reinforced politics and public leadership as a men's game, requiring physical strength, requiring force, and requiring violence. And a case in point is where you find that tankers were rolled on the streets, soldiers were deployed on the streets, they were wearing garb, they looked very masculine, and the voices that were at the fore of pushing for this exit were predominantly male voices. We did not see any women. There were no women heroines who were created in those 2 weeks which eventually led to the exit of Mugabe as the president of Zimbabwe.
The events that occurred in November 2017 were a big historical and something that gave a shade and a light of hope for many Zimbabweans. Though I feel different about it because there were constitutional violations that occurred during the time of the military taking over the state apparatus, which is unconstitutional from section 206 to 213. And that has led to an illegitimate government which is being run by Emmerson Mnangagwa. What it speaks is that we are under an illegitimate government where the military has taken over, which has no regard whatsoever to human rights, to gender equality. Because you find that the government that Emmerson Mnangagwa actually presented to the people of Zimbabwe has got less than 4 women, which shows what they feel and think about women. And when we look at his delegation when he goes outside the country, there are no women at all. So you see that the historical marginalization of women is being carried forward, and there is nothing for women in the current government that's set up. Going forward, as women, we have to converge, pull together, and help each other to grow in politics. Because there is nothing for women without women. And it is high time that we start taking charge of political spaces, social spaces at the workplace and everywhere else, so that we ensure that there is sustainable human development in Zimbabwe. We ensure that there is progress, meaningful and positive progress in this country. because the burden of poverty lies heavily on the woman. Gone are the days where women were relegated to the kitchen or just to be married and become a housewife. We need to take charge and correct the demise that we're facing as women in this country. Thank you.
I saw with so much excitement. Ukubona abantu begcwele emgwaqweni bemarcha ngokubambana black white, amandebele amashona abakhuluma isiZulu. It was a very beautiful day for us. At the end of the event, I had so many expectations. I was looking forward to a year or to a season where the new government was going to finally involve us as young women. Alas, I was wrong. When the new government got into power and I started hearing the cabinet that was being announced, my heart froze. Still, there was no space for us as young women. And then looking ahead, who would want to participate in the upcoming election. Why? Because we now need voices who understand us, who can stand for us, and who can speak for us. As people normally say, anything for us without us is against us. And so my heart then was filled with joy, starting to see campaigns from different organizations. Hashtag She Post 2018 advocating for young women to participate in the coming election. Different women's organizations advocating for the participation of women. And to my joy, one young lady, one guy who caught my heart and my attention, is 22 and actually running for council. Yikho esikhangelele njengamantombazana eZimbabwe ukuba sisukume sizimele. We no longer have fear, and in the upcoming election, I'm seeing many young women going to put their vote for a candidate that they know will represent their needs. What I am totally guaranteed for, and what the events of November 2017 taught me, is that men will never have space for us. Despite all the support that we gave them, we hoped at least for a quarter representation that they were going to give us in this interim government, but we didn't get it. So I'm encouraging most young women from all walks of life from across Zimbabwe, ukuba lesifazana amantombazana lesiyisikhathi senu, asisukume lesisapota nini, asisukume lesibamba nini. Yes, the older women that are there, but you know what? They are also not accommodating us enough as young women. So what I'm advocating for is strictly for the involvement of young women, and no one is going to give us that space. We have to grab it and take it. Like Winnie Mandela once said, let's fight to the bitter end. Young women, it's our time, we can make it.
The new dispensation hasn't got much as far as women's participation in politics is concerned. Why do I say so? We do not have a law or a gender parity regulation that says political parties should recognize the participation of women. Favorite political activist, Linda Masalira, who I call the people violet in Zimbabwe, always puts the stats of women in Zimbabwe 52% and men at 48%. How then do we have a population of 48% deciding the political and social fate of women in Zimbabwe? What's disappointing is that we don't have a gender parity regulation or law that says women should be given a certain percentage in politics. I feel as though our existence in politics has been because usually give us political recognition by pity, not by merit. So I do not think that the events of 2017 changed our political situation as women anyhow.
Last year, in November 2017, when the military changed against its own masters, it became very interesting for me as I saw a change that actually came, which came actually with the military. But for me, again, I had two feelings. That one, the military was just trying to take power so that the power does not go to the people. And at the same time, I was excited that at least for the first time after 37 years, we see Robert Mugabe going out of government. So this was actually my feeling. Then when it comes to young women, what they will benefit, I'm just hoping that come this year, election time, we will see a lot of young women coming up, taking up positions, becoming member of parliament, becoming councillors, mayors. This is what I would actually want to see.
After the November happenings, I actually started putting up certain things. That in the current government, there is no enough gender equality, even as much as you might preach about gender equality, being in a new era, but to me, I don't feel like that. Because already there is not enough representation in both parliament and council. And he's actually in his cabinet, Tsimbakadzi The Documentary. So for me, I told myself that, I'm going to be the change that I want to see. That's I said it for council. That I said trying for office this election. But just in general context, I think that women need to participate in this coming election because number one, we constitute more than 50% of the current population. So if you want to see change, because I believe it's Namo in Zimbabwe, so if you want to see change in Zimbabwe, if you want to see change in Zimbabwe, then do participate in elections. You cannot run for office, but just going to vote counts. And voting for people who will change. Change those are the kind of people that we need in office and in government after these elections.
Hi, my name is Nafkamanya. I'm a disability activist. And Dakatarisa, my events are I participated, I was one of the participants. I was happy with Mugabe since we had kept Mwafrika Square for 16 days to teach Mugabe. And then I was happy with Zazal but then my events up to Nas Bandiri. As disability cluster President 100 days but something concerning the disability cluster because kuti mapolisi anoenderana nedisability achinjwe mukati menyika yedu yeZimbabwe.
I have been the vice chair of the takaitika kuyeriswa 18 November takauya neruzhinji kubva kumamisha uko tichiuya kubvisa waMugabe nekuti waMugabe wanga wakaradza nyika saka takapedza tiye kuwabvisa. Asi zvakatipedza isusu madzimai echidiki kuti hurumende nyowani yaMnangagwa ichi iri kutidzvinyirira. Hatisi kukwanisawo kusununguka isusu mapolitics edu madzimai. Saka taikumbirawo kubvunza kuti waMnangagwa tiri kutongwa nemasoja here kana kuti tiri kutongwa nechii? Tokumbirawo nekuti taikumbirawo kuti zvinhu zvichinje zvitichinjire isusu madzimai because isusu madzimai tisi tinotorwa hondo zhinji papolitics apo. Taitodawo 50-50. Tinoda kukukwidzawo kuita ma-MP kuita zvese kuita maseneta kuti zvinhu zvifambe. Kwete kuramba wakatizvimirira uchikurudzira kuti ivo varume vanogona basa. Isusu tiriko tinotogona basa. Titore zvirema kudai soft chirohwa tichimhanyira Zimbabwe. Saka toda kuti Zimbabwe isunungurwe nemadzimai isusu.
The fires we light are not fires to set alight police cars. They are small cooking fires we make in our township backyards to feed the children when there's no electricity. The fires we light are not fires to set alight our neighbor's small-time business. They are rare passions we ignite in each other to soldier on, set up vending stalls and make a living against all odds. The fires we light are not fires to torch public buildings. They are rare passions we ignite in our little children's hearts to get up and learn something new, even when we know their future stands uncertain. The fires we light are not fires to burn our flag or bring shame to our beautiful Zimbabwe. They are small fires we put together on Jersey street corners to keep warm while we cross the border and engage in a useful trade. The fires we light are not fires we sit around and laugh. They are fires we sit around at a relative's funeral and mourn our dysfunctional health services and the life it purloined. The fires we make, we, the women of Zimbabwe, tell our daily story of struggle. We are sorry, sir, if our small fires make for space for political talk that makes you uneasy. We are deeply sorry, our dear leader, if our small fires have ignited in our people the passion and fiery that will consume you.
The November incident sparked a situation where I felt that I was close to God because I felt the Lord was answering the nation. After a long while trying to remove Robert Mugabe from power, the time had come. I participated. I marched together with the others in solidarity. It then hit me 3 days later that this thing that we had participated in was very unconstitutional. And I realized that it was something that was done to reward the military and mostly men. This is why you see that women have been pushed out of this thing. The position is just rewarding people who it's supposed to reward, because when it was structured, no one was part of it. And women were also not part of it. That's why you see the elbowed out. That's why you see we have a situation where the most powerful position, which is the army general, resigned to join government in order to become the deputy president of the country because he's waiting for the time for him to be rewarded. And I'm saying to women, we should not allow this to happen. We can't also ignore the generational wave that is slipping through this country. We need to make use of that. Women will constitute the greater part of this population, and we need to gather and speak with one voice and grab this power. There is no power that is going to come and we are sitting, but we need to let these men know that they've taken us for granted for a very long time. As young women, we also need to tell the older women that we are part of you, but we need to have this social contract that we also as young women should be included in this position and be ready to lead the country.
November 27 were historic for me, and I actively took part in the transition of power from President Robert Mugabe to President Mnangagwa. It was an exciting moment because all my life I've only ever had one president, and I was so excited to imagine having another president, even if I was not going to be voting for him. But the mere fact that I'll be having a different president for the first time in 7 years was an exciting thing for me. I took part in the march where everyone went to converge all over Harare in different places to pass and reinforce the message that it was time for President Robert Mugabe to pass the baton to someone else. I was very hopeful as well because of the economic situation in our country with that negative economy or non-performing economy for the past 2 decades, and that is for all of my working life. I've had to deal with one crisis after another in the economy, and the current crisis of the cash crisis. So I was positive that after November, the events of November 2017, things will begin to improve, the economy will begin to start working properly. But however, maybe my expectations were on the high side, and I was expecting the economy to improve much quicker and at a faster pace than what actually transpired. But this is an opportunity for each and every one of us to participate in the economy of our country, in the building of our country. It has been destroyed over 37 years, but I believe if we take responsibility and we don't leave it to the politicians alone, and we don't leave it to our leaders, everyone, especially women, we can participate in the economy of our country for things to turn for the better.
My name is Tsimbakadzi. I am an activist and I am powerfully committed to non-violent direct action and people power as a way to change both our community and our country. So in November, my first involvement with the events of November was on the Friday before the march, when along with a brave comrade and a dear friend, Christine Calzani, we approached the military in African Unity Square and requested to pray in the square. We were terrified, and the military said no. We got down on our knees anyway and we prayed there. Little did we know that the next day the streets would be full of people. And while I don't believe that the agenda served there that day was the people's agenda, the positive thing that came out of that time is that people felt for the first time what it meant to go out on the streets without fear and to try and have their voices heard. I think a lot of people hope that this would bring substantive change to our country, but that is not what we have seen. The question, what did the events of November do for women's participation in politics in this country? And quite honestly, I think we can say nothing. We have not yet seen women rise to power in politics, or even to have their voices respected and heard on a national level. And that's something that we're going to fight for until we see it realized, not just in tokenism or cosmetic change, but in true substantive change in this country. The patriarchal culture in Zimbabwe has to be broken, and we have to see women being respected, not just as note takers in meetings or the people who make the food for the men when they get together to discuss politics, but the people who lead and drive the national conversation for true change. That matters to every citizen, not just those in elite positions or in urban centers or in power, but everyday Zimbabweans who have not yet had their voice heard.
Looking at the events dating back to 2017, I would say that women are not adequately represented in government and in the political space. The political space seems to be kept for the men. I'll say that in 2018 poses an opportunity for young women to stand up and be heard through participating as political candidates and running for political office as councillors and also as members of parliament. And also by registering to vote and voting on a particular day. This will help women to participate in the processes of decision making, and they'll be able to push policies and agendas that affect women.
I was really excited, I was overwhelmed, because the time I as a citizen has been waiting for a very long time, just that change of leadership. I didn't participate in the march, but where I was listening to my phone, to my PC, just to know what was going on, and it felt as if hope was there for the nation, and I was really excited. As for the participation of young women in politics, there hasn't been any opportunity we made available due to the fact that the environment is quite hostile and many young women do not want to participate, they take a back seat. We can see, for example, the victimization of Mr. ZANU P.F, the VP of NTCT. I'm not a constitutional expert, but that kind of violence makes young women take a step back and not participate.
In the next coming elections, us as women, how are we treated, or how are we going to be treated? What are we going to receive? Are we going to receive the same support? Are we going to be able to express ourselves the way men express themselves, and we are not judged?
and see the power to stay far and stay home, stay out. But as the program is restricted, Karamisha by this, she has almost to do with someone who's in the end and catching castle, given by a historical event in Zimbabwe. Had this had some election. I was part of the people march on the 18th of November 2017. Well, I took part of the march because I wanted a difference in Zimbabwe. I wanted the revolution to end, for he had ruled our country for so many years. So I thought that in the parliament or in Zimbabwe politics, most women are going to have their voice and participate in most of the things, but I think that nothing like that has changed. So I'm just hoping that after the elections, most women are going to be recruited and are going to be able to have a voice to vote and to take part of Zimbabwe politics. The whole narrative was crafted around a very patriarchal and disturbing story where they took Grace Mugabe as the protagonist and blamed her for everything, for their misrule, including those who were still in government. They blamed everything on Grace Mugabe. They forgot that they had done 37 years of misrule and misgovernance. They said, if it had not been of Grace Mugabe being irresponsible, going to rallies and shouting at people, maybe the military would not have intervened. So for me, the narrative that is created is that women must not be in public places without fear, and women must not be in public places without shame, which is a very unfortunate narrative. And as you've heard from the young women who are speaking here, they speak passionately about this negative impact that came about as a consequence of the military takeover. And I think this narrative needs to be nipped in the bud by a strong and aggressive presence of young feminist voices like the ones we are capturing in this documentary, Tsimbakadzi, in the post-politics period that we are currently in. I think the highlight of what the young women share is that we are presented with an opportunity like never before to own the narrative of our experiences as young women. So for us to achieve what we want to achieve as young women, which is our upliftment, economic recognition, political upliftment, I think there are three clear tasks that lie ahead for us as young women. And I think if you listen to all the young women who've spoken in this documentary, Tsimbakadzi, you will hear that there is a clarion call for us to be able to set the political agenda for the 2018 election. Our key issues must be included in each manifesto of every serious political party in the country. People must come to a point where they realize that as young women, we are setting the political agenda for the election. What are the issues that must be at the fore as we go to vote? What are we looking for in a candidate? Employment creation, improved healthcare, self-service delivery, etc. So the number 2 clarion call that was made by the many young women that have spoken in this documentary is that we must participate in the election, and we must participate in this election on the 3 levels. Number 1, we need to mobilize each other to register to vote and to go and actually vote on election day. Number 2, we need to join hands with other civil society organizations, political actors, church, labor, in demanding a conducive environment for a free and fair election so that young women can participate effectively. And finally, as you listen through the stories that are being told by these young women, you will also realize that outside encouraging each other and to be responsible and to play our part, we also have asks to political actors and to the government. Our number 1 ask as we go to the election is that electoral reforms must be effected. Electoral reforms for a peaceful and credible election where women can fully participate. Number 2, 50-50 gender policy. We are asking political parties and the government to start to have commitment towards a 50-50 gender policy in the echelons of political parties and government institutions. And then we are finally asking for 50% representation on parliamentary seats reserved for women. They must go to young women so that we have a generational mix where we have the older, seasoned, experienced politicians having a fusion with the younger, upcoming, enthusiastic, energetic young women. For us, this is a rare opportunity to present our experiences, a rare opportunity to make sure that our stories, our experiences are included in the narrative. And going forward, we would want to correct this historical mistake where women's stories are never told. As they say, unless the lion learns to write, the stories of hunting will always glorify the hunter. I think that must be a thing of the past. We now want young women to also own the narrative, speak to their experiences, shape opinion at a strategic, political, national level.